Salve a tutti amici di Comics Reporter e Fumetto Mania. Oggi abbiamo un incontro davvero epico e mitico con il leggendario autore, scrittore e disegnatore Walt Simonson. Lo ricordiamo tantissimo per la sua run di Thor, dei Fantastici 4, di X Factor, creatore di personaggi e fumetti come starslammers. Ha disegnato per le grandissime major delle americane, insomma, veramente un personaggio che ha fatto la storia del comics nel mondo. Hello, Walt. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, thank you. The first question is, how are you spending the quarantine?
Taking far too many naps. I do have some work to do. Some of it's drawings for friends of mine. I have to do a wedding present for somebody. I am doing some commissions, which I really never do. But I've taken some commissions on for the time being. And really, I should be working on the next volume of Ragnarok, which is the comic I do for IDW. But I have a lot of writing done, but I have a lot of writing left to go. I should be working on that. But mostly I'm doing this other stuff. For example, I owe a drawing to a friend of mine. I don't know what you can see on the... I have to ink this still, so this will be an ink drawing. But he gave me some books a while back. He likes animals, and so I'm doing a gorilla for him. So I got to get that done. And I just have I don't have anything else handy. Hey, I didn't get my visual aids. I should have my visual aids ready. Well, I know. Two things. One of the commissions I'm doing is a character from the Legion of Superheroes named Block. Who is a large guy. I have to ink this still. Oh, so that's the drawing of Block for the commission. I ran into not really a problem, but I ran into a conundrum where it turns out that apparently earlier in his career, Block had a nose. But he had an encounter with Darkseid, and apparently he got his nose sanded off. And so he doesn't have a nose in some of the shots. So I had to find out whether the person who wanted the commission wanted him with or without a nose. The answer turned out to be either one you want to do, so I'm okay. And then I have this drawing. What I tried to do is several drawings in pencil, so I'll be able to ink them, just sit down and ink and just get them all done that way. So I have a couple of drawings of Marvel's Thor. Are these showing up okay on your end? I mean, can you see them okay? I guess let's move that out of the way. It might be a little more light. Another drawing of Thor for another friend.
Wow.
And this is a Beta Ray Bill that's going to be a surprise drawing for someone that doesn't know it's coming. So that's most of what I've been doing recently. I have started doing some of the commissions as well. I did a Thor, which I don't think I have handy off the bat. But if you want to see more stuff, I can grab more stuff later on. But that's how I've been keeping busy. I've just been trying to do some drawing, but I'm slower now than I was when I was younger. And I'm even slower now that we're not going, we don't go out much. I mean, our lives are not a lot different from what they were before COVID-19 because we work at home. I don't know what you can see. This is my studio.
Wow.
I have a lot of books. Right here under these drawings is my newest Topi book.
Oh, Sergio Toppi.
So I'm still doing stuff, but I'm just slow. Part of it is that I don't have any deadlines. Pardon me while I get my laptop rearranged on my desk again. There we go. It's sitting on top of the cord, which I don't want to have happen. There we go. And I'm always been kind of a deadline guy. If I have a deadline to work to, I'll get on it about 2 minutes before the deadline is due, and I'll work like blazes. And if I don't have a deadline, I'm playing Zelda, or I'm reading a book, or I'm grabbing a nap, or whatever. So I'm not working as hard as I really need to be at the moment, and I'm hoping I kick that into gear today and tomorrow and really get back to work. I do have a lot to do. So I told you I gave long answers.
No problem. Una domanda che volevamo fare è: tu sei un artista che ha lavorato su quasi tutti i generi narrativi. C'è una storia tra quelle che hai realizzato a cui sei particolarmente legato. So, you're an artist that has worked on any kind of narrative genre. Is there a story among the ones that you have told that you are particularly connected to?
Of all the work I've done, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, there are several. I mean, I've been very lucky in that I have mostly done work that I wanted to do. So I'm very fortunate in that. But among the books that I've done that I look back at with fondness, Manhunter, which was the work I did with Archie Goodwin. That was the very beginning of my career. I'd been in New York for 6 months when I got that offer to do Manhunter. And it won a bunch of awards. It took about a year to do. We worked on a little over a year. And when I began that work, I was one more new guy in comics. As I said, I'd been in New York for 6 months, kind of scrambling for work. And when I finished that project about a year later, a little over a year later, editors knew who I was. Because I met all the freelancers. I knew a lot of freelancers as well. And I didn't really have to go looking for work after that. I was offered work because a lot of people had seen the Manhunter work. So that's both a sentimental favorite and also just a favorite because I like the story. And Archie and I work so well together that I'm very pleased with that. I also did the graphic novel for the movie Alien, an adaptation of Alien. Yeah. Archie also wrote that. Very pleased with that. I will mention right now that one of the gentlemen who was most associated with that on the 20th Century Fox side, or 20th Century side, just died yesterday or this morning. Charlie Lippincott. Charles was a major guy with Lucasfilm, with the Lucas people, helped really promote the Star Wars stuff and kind of helped make it what it was. He also was responsible for getting the Alien book to heavy metal. And he knew comics, and he was an enormous help to me when I was doing that book. So it was not a surprise. Charlie's health hasn't been very good recently, but I was still very sorry to hear it. So I'm just giving Charlie a shout out right now when I'm doing
Oh,
this.
No.
Also, well, Thor, of course. I was an old Norse myth fan before I discovered Marvel Comics. I was thrilled to discover there was a comic about Thor, and I was delighted 14 years after I discovered it to be able to write and draw the book itself. So that's always a favorite. I like doing Orion for DC. I love Jack Kirby's work in general. And Orion I'm a big New Gods, Fourth World fan, all those books that he did for DC. And I was very pleased to have a chance to do that character and some of those characters for a couple of years. So that was really neat. And I'm pretty happy about Ragnarok right now. I've gone back to Thor after 35 years. And a different Thor, a different 9 worlds, really, than the Marvel Universe. Quite different, really. More mythological, grimmer, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it. So I just don't do it as fast as I used to.
Ok, perfetto. Buonissima risposta, Walt. Adesso cominceremo con qualche domanda che ci ha posto qualche lettore. Cominciamo subito con le domande fatte dal pubblico, con quella di Alfonso Verdicchio, che ci chiede: puoi raccontarci di qualche ricordo tuo dell'esperienza alla bravura e del tuo starslammers, per favore?
Can you please tell us some memories about your bravura days and your starslammers?
Oh, sure. I like that starslammers too, actually. That was it was fun. It was interesting. Legend had just gotten started over at Dark Horse, which was Frank Miller and Mike Mignola, some of the other guys, Art Adams. And Malibu was publishing comics right then, another small company. And they were game to have some of us do creator-owned books, which is what that was. It was a book. I had already done a graphic novel for Marvel, but it was under the auspices of it being my own material, and the rights had reverted to me completely. So I thought it was time to write a Star Slammer story, and Bravura ended up being a place to put it. So it was me and Howard Chaykin, Steve Grant, Gil Kane, Jim Starlin, Dan Brereton, I think. I'm kind of losing it all now. It was a long time ago. It was early 90s, I think it was. And so I got a Star Slammer story. It turned out to be a 5-part story. But along the way, I was very slow getting it out even then. And so by the time I was toward the end of it, the Bravura line was kind of sputtering out, kind of ran out of gas. And so I finished up, I did the last story, and in the end, Dark Horse published it under the Legend imprint. So all 5 issues did come out. And then about 4 years ago, 3, 4, 5 years ago, IDW went back and they collected all the Starslammers material, including the stuff I'd done in art school a million years ago, and published it in the hardcover. And it included the complete graphic novel, the complete miniseries, which was, as I said, 5 issues. That was all remastered. It was recolored. And the black and white work I had done in art school. So I'm glad I had a chance to do it. I'm glad Malibu gave me a shot at producing it. I kind of hope to go back and do more Starslammers, but I don't know when right now. I don't have any idea. I kind of hope to, but there's just, there's so much to do. You guys ever seen a book called The Phantom Toll Booth by Norton Juster? I don't know if it's available in Italian or not. It's a children's book that Jules Pfeiffer illustrated. But it's quite wonderful. And one of the things about it, at the end of it, there's a boy, the story's about a young boy who, he's kind of bored all the time. School is boring. Coming home is boring. He's just bored. There's just nothing to do. And in the story, he comes home one day from school and he has to put it together, I've forgotten. He finds a toll booth. It's like a kid's toll booth. He puts it together, snaps it together. It's got some money, little fake money, and it's got little, put your money in here, arrive at the toll booth. He has a little car, a little electric car, I guess. He drives up, says, well, this will kill some time in the day. And he puts the money and he drives through, and suddenly he's in a whole different place. And he has all these adventures in this land, and ultimately learns a great deal, goes through a lot of changes, makes a lot of friends, deals with some enemies, and gets home again. And then he's so excited, goes to school, and he runs home because he can't wait to hop in the toll booth, hop in the car, and drive back and see his friends in this magical land. And he comes back, and the toll booth is gone. The box is gone. There's a little note saying that hope that Milo, the little boy's name was Milo, hope he enjoyed the toll booth. He hopes the use of it. I hope that, but they have other people have to give it to. And he thinks about it. He thinks, well, now there is so much to do. I've got to do this. I've got this. I've got this. There's so many things to do. I don't know why I have time to go back to this magical land. So he's kind of learned this lesson that if you look around, there's always stuff to do. And my problem, after all these years in comics, I still have too much to do. They also, one quick note, they made a movie out of it, I think directed by Chuck Jones. There's an animated, full-length animated cartoon in the Phantom Toll Booth by Chuck Jones. I will say, Chuck isn't here right now. I did think the book was better, but it's a good book.
Ok. Allora andiamo avanti con la seconda domanda del pubblico. Questa volta la domanda la scrive Maurizio Clausi e ci chiede: Walt, qual è stato il tuo miglior inchiostratore?
So, which inker do you like best on your work?
Oh, me.
Oh,
My favorite inker on my own work is me. I've been inked well by several people. I'd be hard pressed to pick a favorite among them, but Dan Green inked one issue of X Factor many years ago, did a beautiful job with it. Terry Austin inked a couple of issues of Thor. Bob Wyacek inked me on I think maybe on Thor, but also really on X Factor. He inked most of the X Factors I did. And I thought all 3 of those gentlemen did a fine job. I was inked by Dick Giordano on a Batman story that looked pretty good. In that case, Dick's not here either, so I can tell the story, but he used a background guy, as many of the older pros did. Somebody inked the backgrounds. I mean, that's still done some places. And the background guy wasn't as good as Dick was. And so there were places where I felt the figures looked great, but the backgrounds, they weren't quite up to it. But Dick's own work was quite beautiful, so it was neat to see him as well. There are probably others, but those are the ones. Oh, Klaus Janson did some interesting work over me in Battlestar Galactica. And what was it? Close Encounters of the Third Kind. That was a long time ago. But those are the ones I can think of off the bat. All a little different. In some cases, I mean, for example, Alfredo Alcala did finishes over me. Actually, so did Wally Wood. Wallace Wood did. Hercules for Woody, and Rampaging Hulk for Alfredo. In both those cases, I was doing layouts rather than tight pencils. And so that means it's not meant to look like my work when it's done. It's meant to look like whatever the finisher, the guy that does the work of the layouts is called the finisher. And, you know, it'll look a lot more like him in some ways. The storytelling is still mine. But I thought those books looked good when they were done. Woody's Hercules Unbound looked great. When, yeah, it looked like Woody. You'd never know I had anything to do with it. But that was Wallace Wood, for goodness sake. That's like bucket list stuff. I can check that off here on my bucket list and say, wow, I was inked by Wallace Wood. And that was great. And Alfredo did a beautiful job. It was very much Alfredo. You don't see a lot of me under it. But the part of my idea with work like that, I don't care if it looks like me or not when I'm done. I want it to look good. I want the work to look good when it's finished. I don't care if it looks like Walter Simonson work. And both those guys did a great job. That was interesting. Doing layouts for other people. Tony DeZuniga inked some of my Thors and did an interesting job. There's one big shot, double page spread of Balder, a big figure of Balder up on the side of the panel, and all this distance stuff down below. They're rebuilding Asgard. And that double page spread is just outstanding. So you think of things like that as well when you think of other people who brought so much to the layouts that I was giving them. And especially I went back and looked at some of the layouts for Thor. I'm sorry Tony isn't around anymore, died several years ago, because I would like to thank him for saving my ass on that work so many years ago.
Ok, benissimo,
Okay.
Walt. Fabio, avanti.
C'è un'altra domanda. Allora, in parte ci hai già risposto. Conosci qualche artista, qualche fumettista italiano e qual è il tuo preferito? So, do you know any Italian comic book artist? And if so, who do you like best?
I don't know a lot. I mean, Topi is my go-to guy. I love Sergio Topi's work. I discovered it probably in 1974 or 75. I didn't see very much of it for a long time. It didn't get translated into English. There wasn't a lot of it over here. But I came across a book. This is how close I have it to my drawing board. I am sitting at my drawing board right now, and here is the book. It's a French translation from the Uomo series of the man of the, I guess, Morea Swamp, probably. And takes place back over in the Florida swamps with the Seminole Indians. And that's the first Topi I ever bought. I found 3 of those books in that paperback series that Topi had done. I bought all 3 of them at the time, but that was my favorite. And I didn't see any work for a long time after that. Now, of course, some of his books are coming out in English. There's apparently a 5 or 6 volume set coming out over here in English. The first 2 were all black and white. This one has a lot. This one came out. I got this like 5 days ago. Came out in color. I have my local comic shop. I've got them on order, so whenever they come in, they just put one aside for me. So I'm a big Topi fan. He's probably my favorite. I like Battaglia's work a lot. I thought he had really beautiful work. I don't take so much from it as I do from Topi. Topi is so linear. I'm really a line guy. Battaglia's work has a lot of tonal work in it. And I love it, but I'm not as influenced by it. There's another guy, Tacconi, I think is the name, who I was a big fan of. Haven't seen that much of his stuff. A lot of his some World War I stuff with airplanes and stuff like that. And I liked his work a lot. I've looked at, I just had a delivery guy come by and leave a package on our front porch. It'll stay out there for a while. And, but I liked his work a lot. I don't know who else I would have seen out of Italy. There are a number of European artists I like, but they're really scattered across Europe. I'm a big fan of Jim Holdaway and Frank Bellamy out of England. Big fan of Mobius and Jean-Claude Mézières out of France. Big fan of Palacios out of Spain. All of those guys have had an influence on my work at one time or another, and I still go back and look at some of it from time to time. Otomo out of Japan. I don't know the Japanese artists at all well, but I like Otomo's work. I've got some books of Otomo's. I love his stuff. Out of Italy. That's probably about it out of Italy. Oh, I like I like Krapax's stuff. I really like the way he breaks stories down. He's mostly in a whole different area of subject matter than I would ever be in. But it's really the way he breaks the stuff I've seen, which is going back many years now. I haven't seen his work in a long time. But I have some of his, well, I don't know if it was his early work or not, but it was work from many years ago, probably from the 70s. Some of the erotic novels that he was adapting as comics. And he would do really interesting panel breakdowns and graphics within the panel that I thought were quite interesting. I was probably looking at some of that stuff when I was doing Manhunter. So I like his work. I don't know who else is Italian. I think Pritchard may have been French, but I'm not really sure. Okay. Those are the ones I can remember, at least offhand.
Ok, perfetto. Ok, Walt, il nostro tempo sta per scadere. La tua gentilezza veramente è stata unica, magnifica. Abbiamo avuto l'onore di averti appunto come ospite per la nostra intervista da parte di Comics Reporter e Fumettomania. Per oggi ti salutiamo e ti ringraziamo tantissimo. Grazie, ciao.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Thank you very much, guys. Are we all done? Okay.
Grazie mille. Ciao, grazie.
Thank you very much. You really guys take care. Stay safe.
Stay safe. Okay. Thank you so much, Walt.
All right.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
It's been my pleasure, gentlemen. So you guys take care.
You're really my favorite comic artist. For me, you are the number one.
Me too.
Well,
bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I can name 10 other guys who are better than I am, but I'm very flattered.
No.
Thank you.
This is my Bible. Bye.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Ciao, grazie.
Ciao.
Ciao, grazie.